What is happening? Welcome to another episode of The Craft. My name is Nick Pollock, and today, well, I have a colleague of mine. You might know him. He puts out some rankings on The Athletic, and last time we brought him on, or at least one of the times we brought him on, he said, "Oh man, I wish I did this rankings podcast with you before I actually published them." So I did that for him today. Saris, welcome, special guests to the podcast.
Yes, you're helping me do my homework.
That is unbelievably touching. 10 years ago, someone said to me, "Hey, Nick, in 10 years, you're going to help Saris do his homework." I'm like, what? This is incredible. We are going to go through Eno's ranks. And of course, I have mine that I put out every single Monday. What I was initially planning to do was just say, hey, look, I have this tier of like 20, 25 guys from like 30 to 65 or 60 or whatever, and trying to figure it out between the two of us. But we're kind of going to do that through your rankings a little bit here. And right out of the gate, one of the bigger ones that's outside of the that glob and above it, really, someone that we're a bit different on, is how to rank the Mariners starting pitchers. And what I see here is I see Logan Gilbert at 11 from you, George Kirby at 14, and then Bryan Woo at 15, where I have it as Woo, Gilbert, Kirby, and Woo also inside my top 10. You seem a little bit spooked by the two games where he allowed, I believe, 7 home runs combined.
Yeah, Woo has the middle K minus BB. I just think that Kirby's is going to improve going forward. He also has the worst Sierra of the group. And then lastly, I know that theoretically I should trust the approach, but 2 fastballs and 2 sliders is a weird approach. There isn't another one like him. And when you don't have another one like him, sometimes you feel like you're out into the breach. You know what I mean? Like I've always had a little difficulty believing fully in Bryan Woo. Like, I get George Kirby. He has these pitches. He has great command. That's the story of George Kirby. What's the story of Logan Gilbert? He has extreme extension and has now developed one of the best splitters in the game, and a collection of decent breaking balls. There are guys like that. But Bryan Woo is fairly special. The only people I can think of that are like him aren't like him at all. Hunter Brown.
Sorry, that's just a funny phrase. Someone that's like him is not like him.
Like Hunter Brown,
sure.
Cam Schlittler. These guys are a little bit like Bryan Woo in that they're very fastball heavy. They use like 3 fastballs off of each other, but they're also not like Bryan Woo because they're power behemoths. And he's not a power behemoth.
Yeah.
He's a little bit like a George Kirby version of Cam Schlittler. Is that a crazy way to put him? The thing is, would go behind Kirby and Schlittler for me.
Yeah. Bryan Woo, actually, I've had a comp for him for about 2 years. I've called him this pitcher 2.0 because I'll describe him. What I see a flat 4-seamer that is everything, and he goes upstairs. He commands it really well, and he commands it with a sinker predominantly, and just destroys right-handers with those two. Has not quite embraced the secondary life so much.
Yeah,
and it's been, that has grown over the years, and we see this year the sweeper is up a fair amount relative to previous seasons. It's up to 23% against right-handers, and it's an overall 50% jump from 10% to 15% in usage for it. But it's still really 4-seamer sinker as the game plan, and then trying to figure out things a little bit for lefties. Can you think of an ace pitcher for, I want to say since like 2018 or so, who just returned 2 weeks ago? He's now actually very close to comping Bryan Woo, because now they're finally at the same velocity, around like 95, 90, 96. This will be Zach Wheeler. It is. I've called him Zach Wheeler 2.0 for years, and it's because he's just
Zach Wheeler's secondaries are better.
Well, now, they're not that good, They really aren't. They've never really been.
Right.
Like the slider and the curveball and the splitter, like you see Zach Wheeler proves it's not because of the secondaries at all. And not to say that Brian Woo's secondaries are bad either. Like this year, that sweeper has a 22% swing strike rate, a near 40% CSW, and a 74% strike rate. Right? Like that's fantastic for your sweeper. Right? I mean, he's not using it as much as other guys do. Again, 15% overall usage for that. And the slider that he has, not great. The changeup he's trying to make work, not really cool. The lefties are always going to be a little bit of that wrinkle for Brian Woo. But that's always been the case actually for Zach Wheeler too. And sometimes he did have a splitter, Wheeler did. Sometimes he would throw more of those curveballs a little bit. But I've always seen 2.0 Zach Wheeler here. And then you throw in the home park and it's feels great to me. I'm sorry, it wasn't 7 home runs. It was 6 home runs allowed, 4 in St. Louis and 2 against the Royals that promoted this 13 earned run barrage over 2 games that he has yet to hit across all the other games that he's pitched in thus far. So, I mean, that's where I am on Brandon Wu. Logan Gilbert, I just feel is like so inconsistent. And Kirby can't figure out how to get
like more of a roadmap than I had considered. However, for his career, Zach Wheeler has thrown 60% fastballs, and for his career,
I mean, he's at 70% right now. Yeah,
and 75 for his career.
Yeah. Okay.
So, and I think, okay, I'll give you that as like I would say I give you that as potential. And what I would want for Woo to become Wheeler is for him to have at least as many secondaries as Wheeler has. I mean, there's just more there. And and it's a little bit like, it is a good comp though, because Wheeler is a fastball forward guy that you're right. The secondaries aren't necessarily that good, but he has a bunch of them and he goes to them at different times to offset the fastball. So, okay, I'll give you that as a roadmap, but I don't know if it's a lock solid present day comp. Maybe that'll push Woo up a little bit. But, you know, part of this also is just the Hype 7 that we talked about preseason has just returned value in spades. It turned out I'd said that I'd wanted one of the Hype 7 on all of my
teams. It was Erie, right? Yeah, I'm just kidding. That's not
that's the one that didn't work out.
No.
But I do have at least one team where it was Erie. But I on every team that I drafted this year, I got one of them.
Nice.
And so I feel great because and the one I had the least of is Nolan McLean because he had the most preseason hype. But I do have a lot of Cam Schlittler and Chase Burns and Jacob Mizorowski on my teams. And, when those guys move up, somebody has to move down. And a lot of it was injuries coming out. But I've got Mizorowski, Burns, Schlittler, and McLean all in the top 12. And so really, how far up do I want to move Woo? Do I want to move up ahead of those guys? I'm not sure. Dylan Cease, this is the widest arsenal Dylan Cease has ever had. His numbers in terms of Sierra strikeout minus walks, they're all significantly better than Brian Woo's.
Yeah. Okay. So the Dylan Cease, lifestyle, I don't think it's changed whatsoever. I mean,
no, it's not. It's not that different.
And Brian Woo, I understand that the Sierra and everything's gonna be low, but it's also because he had like 3 games where he didn't get strikeouts. I mean, and had 6 home runs in 2 games,
which is a risk with his approach. He may have the lowest strikeout rate of any of the guys that I've mentioned so far.
Yeah, but I mean that is a good point. I'm not a believer that his 27% strikeout rate from last year, Brian Woo, is such an anomaly that now he's going to be the 22% moving forward. I think also, we're seeing the sweeper improve even this year as well. So I see him as even with all the distraught of the season, he has a 1 whip right now. And the only reason the ERA is higher is because of those ridiculous 2 games that are outliers to me.
Oh, that reminds me. I promised to put projected whip into my sauce, into my folder. I can't necessarily get it up on the ranks, but I will have it in the Google Doc. And so I will add that. I should have that as a column. I just need to look at that because I doubt Cease is going to look great there in the projected whip.
Well, it's
There's
why that
gonna
I don't have Christopher Sanchez at 2, because I don't think.
Mm.
I mean, look, he's already having to come back from allowing 23 hits in 2 games, which obviously, again,
and he has like a
extreme.
1-2-4 or something. Yeah.
Right, which is honestly great considering he has his hands tied behind his back after those 2. Kind of like how
Mhm.
Luzardo was trying to get back from the 20 earned runs in 4 games or 2 games, whatever.
But
But he's always going to be a higher hit per 9 guy and higher whip guy, Sanchez. Like that's always kind of in my head a little with that specific. But yeah, with Woo.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I just Mizorowski versus Schlittler is funny because you were gonna put Schlittler near the top, and I ended up putting Mizorowski near the top. There's an interesting debate there too because
yeah.
Schlittler has like I think theoretically wider mix. He doesn't
Yes.
go to the curve very much though, so
No.
he's like 80 or 90% fastball, sinker, and cutter.
Yeah.
Where Jacob Mizorowski is sort of 80% fastball slider.
Mm-hmm.
I did see something cool from Lance Brodzowski calling for Jacob Mizorowski to throw a sinker. I thought that was an interesting idea.
Oh yeah. Oh, I totally dig that. Yeah, you throw so hard, like it just add more difficulty for you. I mean, right? We were talking about the slider being more of a cutter and everything along those lines. I remember I think it was 2015 or 16. I saw Noah Syndergaard throw a 95-mile-per-hour cutter that was labeled as a slider on the broadcast. I was like, oh my god, I've never seen a 95-mile-per-hour slider. I remember you're like, oh, I think it's a cutter, Nick. I'm like, I've embarrassed myself. I will never come back.
No. Still a debate to this day. I mean, what is DeGrom's pitch? DeGrom's pitch is like a little bit more clearly a slider in terms of movement.
Yeah, right. But right. So I mean, so you Mizorowski throwing a cutter, slider, right, and a 4-seamer. Then that last one's missing is a sinker. That makes all of the sense. I wouldn't have as much faith in Mizorowski adding a pitch and effectively throwing it. Right.
It's true because of the command, and now that I'm looking at it, I'm like, man, that is a really tight mix to have third overall. I got nervous even putting Chase Burns at 12th, but they're so dominant in terms of strikeouts and walks and what they've done so far that you're like, Strider's debut seasons exist,
Yeah.
Hunter Green exists,
Right. Well, I mean, one season of Hunter Green exists. It is kind of wild that like Hunter Green was never quite hitting our expectations, and I was just like, I don't want to deal with this. I remember putting him super low at the beginning of the season, just being like, hipsters. I try to avoid hipsters as much as I can, right? And then finally, he's like, hey, I'm going to throw 16 out of 17 sliders for strikes. I'm like, oh, okay. Now we're good. I'm going to move on from the top tier of this stuff because I think that the most value is found in your rankings with the ones that people in 12 teamers are actually going to be debating between. They might see like, hey, I saw like Christian Scott was 8% rostered in Fantasy Pros' aggregate places along those lines. And so I'm going to jump all the way down here.
Where do you have him?
The 30s. Where do I have Christian Scott right now? I have him below the middle one. So for example, I have you have him higher than I do. I love that you have him as high as you do. I also recognize as a manager, he's 8% rostered right now. And there isn't a lot of confidence in him. And I believe the last time I had to rank him, he had a bad matchup ahead. And I'm thinking to myself, like, I just don't feel that you right now as a fantasy manager should go after this one when there isn't enough confidence in them and there's a bad matchup ahead. I think you can try something else for a week and then we can reassess this. But
that is something that that's a big difference between us always is that, I on purpose, and I don't think I'm going to add it. I do not look at the immediate schedule because my rankings are supposed to be for the rest of the season.
That's the thing though. It's not a best ball. And I really struggled with this for so long. I think it's the most misunderstood thing about the list is this the rest of season ranking or is it just for this week? Well, I'm like, well, it's both. I'm like, how can it be both? Because there are certain guys that are rostered and not dropped, and I have to do that rest of season. And then you have guys who are going or not rostered and then could be added and then moved a lot. And then we got to think about like, well, right now, what should I do? Right. And it's hard to distinguish where that is.
Right. And it's so dependent on each league size, depth of bench, all that stuff that I just prefer to be like, this is my rest of season rankings. And you can kind of infer that
talent and skill and everything. Yeah.
yeah, and you can infer from different groupings and stuff that like, oh, okay, if this guy, if these two guys are in the 70s and one guy has a better schedule, like it doesn't matter that has one guy 72 and the other guy
Well,
78.
that's
Like
the hard feeling
they're
though.
in the like area, they're in the same area, and if they're in the same area, then I'd rather have the guy who has the better schedule.
You're telling me that people don't just look at the number, Come on. Let's be real. No,
well, they do when they want to call you an idiot.
Yeah, there it is. But no, I think what happened to me is I think I initially started to do that because I've done the list every Monday since 2015, right? And I have different processes that I've done over the course of it to like fine tune it and make it feel good to me. And I initially, I think, did it like that. And I changed because I found myself rostering someone else a lot of the time. And to be honest, that's how it works for a lot of people. They just look at the ranking mode. This guy's above this one. I got no time. This is why it's a list. Sure, I scream, read the notes, but I also get like, you're just going to follow. All right, Nick has him at 72 and this guy's at 75. I'll take the 72, right? And it just didn't make sense at that point. So I said, all right, here are the rules of 12 teamers. Hopefully in the notes.
That's why you have the tiers and everything.
Yeah, right. Here are the notes. Like if you want more nuance to it. And there's also something to be said about rest of season where like, is that playing for the player rater? Is that playing for, hey, this guy's going to have value and I can replace it? Or like, if I just put both guys in my roster right now and then go for the rest of the year, who's more beneficial? Because good segue, Nick, thank you, is Jack Leiter and Tanner Bybee at 54 and 55, who I consider coin flips on a given night. And as a fantasy manager, if you have those guys on your team, you're constantly wondering in a 12-teamer, what do I do? Do I hold on to this? Do I not? This is frustrating. This isn't, whatever. While I see Michael Soroka and Ryne Nelson, 61, 62, I actually have more faith, and I feel as a fantasy manager, I'd be much more comfortable having them right now because I feel good about them. And then I would adjust
what part of my
if I needed
rankings
to. Sorry?
So these are unfinished. Do you know what part of my rankings I cannot stop staring at?
This one probably from like 50 to 70. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how it is every time. This is the glob.
Yeah, it's the glob, but it's also because I've taken the injury guys out, the glob is higher. I used to think the glob was sort of like 60 to 80, and then maybe it is preseason, but like now the glob starts, around 50 because, in the 40s, I've got Connor Prielipp and, even Edward Cabrera, who like the stuff is not as good, but the results are pretty good. And like, he's a pretty good pitcher. Like I'd just roster him, I'm fine with him. Logan Henderson, I'm excited about. Like there's those guys I'm excited about. And then down in like the end of the 60s are the guys that I'm like, I don't know where to put my hands.
It's still like, have Luis Castillo on here?
I do, because his Sierra is good. His projection is good. His K- BB is average. Like it's not terrible.
Are you starting him on a given night?
I said I don't even know where to put him. I don't even think I have a share, but I can't just not rank him. And
well,
so
I mean, that's
he keeps dropping, and I don't this may not be where he ends up, but he keeps dropping because like his projections for 379, like he's already the lowest that has that good of a projection.
Well, okay, so here's this too, I mean, there's two things I want to say. One, the Mariners might not even be starting him because Bryce Miller returns today, and they even suggested a piggyback situation. There would be a 6-man right now with Emerson Hancock in there, right? Yeah. So it does look like.
Oh, I know. There's all sorts of risk. I know. There's all sorts of risk. But he has this long track record. He has a deal. Like
everybody has a long track record until they don't,
But then he also has a deal to think about. Like I don't think they're going to DFA him, and like. I think it's a little bit early to go to the bullpen. So I personally think he's going to come out of this with a job, but I mean, that's part of
number 2.
But anyway, just to finish my little rant about this section.
Oh, please. Yes.
Trevor Rogers, Aaron Nola, Luis Castillo, Bubba Chandler. And then they're right ahead of like Griffin Jackson, Ben Brown, who I'm like, well, these guys could be good, but they're not even starters yet, So that's what they've hit the floor. Like I've pushed Rogers, Nola, and
Right.
Castillo down and down and down and down, and now they've hit the point where it's guys who I don't even know they're starters, that are
Right.
coming up, and so
It's
they've met
like
each
that meme of
other.
the two cars going past each other, and they're
Yeah,
looking at each other,
exactly. Yeah,
from the
exactly.
Umbrella Academy.
If I knew
I
Griffin
Yeah.
Jax was a starter right now that could go 5 innings, I would take him over Luis Castillo in a second. So I bet you Luis Castillo is going to drop below him. But anyway, so what has happened then is so from those, basically from 50 to like 69, 70, I have reordered those guys a million times. Tanner Bybee is going up. Jack Leiter is going up. I don't know. Who did you mention that you had? You had Soroka
Ryne
and
Nelson?
Nelson.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't trust them that much. But
Okay, what is it about Ryne Nelson that you don't like?
the strikeout rate.
I
I
mean, it's
just
like a
don't.
22%, right?
It's bad. That's league average is 23.
Okay.
He's not a standout there, and it's such a small arsenal that I think that, and especially that fastball, I think it's like, and I don't like have this nailed in the numbers or anything. This is a little bit anecdotal, but like I think it's a little bit subject to like wind and park factors and situations. Like he got pummeled in
Mexico
Mexico
City. Oh,
City,
then
which
yeah,
duh,
okay.
I get it. But like
Yeah.
he's not always going to be in a dome, like,
Yeah.
so I don't know if I trust him on the road, basically. And
Mm,
so then he's a little bit like a home pitcher, and then he's a half a pitcher, which means I think I have him where he needs to
that's
go.
interesting. So, I mean, on Friday last week, 6.2 innings, 100 runs, 7 Ks, 1 walk, 2 hits against the Mets, but it's the Mets and it's Citi Field. And 2 road starts, right? The Toronto game was sorry, not on the road. That was at home, by the way, with the Mets. I apologize. I'm just getting the ats and everything wrong. And actually at Chicago, at Baltimore, at Mets, all good starts for Ryne Nelson. The 8 earned
We're
run
still
game
in
was game
Chicago being
chase.
good though.
Yeah,
And
sure.
we're and City's still good. So so maybe
Yeah.
he's more of a 75%er.
Okay. I'm personally in the camp where I think the four seamer is just such a good foundation, has proven itself for 2+ years of being a high floor pitcher. And I do think that it's a little bit better this year when it comes to the secondary involvement.
It is, I think. Yeah.
It's like
And
a
I had to
slider that is
reinvestigate
a
my
little more
priors all the
effective.
time. I mean, he used to be a one pitch guy, so he's
Right.
not quite that anymore.
And I'm not saying that he is a top 30 arm. I
Mhm.
am saying that I compare him to, say, like Tanner Bybee and Jack Leiter, and I'm like, I feel confident in Ryne Nelson's save against the toughest offenses.
Hmm.
And Jack Leiter, Tanner Bybee, if you're starting him, you just gotta close your eyes and like hope for the best.
It's true. I
You know?
actually, now that I did that thing about Nelson, like Leiter to me is a bit of a 50%er or maybe a 75%er, because I'll start him at home. Texas has become a pitcher's park.
Mhm.
And I'll start him at some. So
Just
I think generally, like, there's a lot of 75%ers in here. Is
Yeah.
Joey Cantillo an every start guy for you?
No.
No. But how do
No.
you guess when to use him? Home?
Oh, you don't. This is why I don't roster Joey Cantillo.
The model numbers are not good.
I mean, Cantillo is look, I honestly also I think one of the biggest differences between me and everyone is that I certainly put more weight on believability of execution. And I'm sure Ryne Nelson's a little bit of an anomaly of just like he has a thing, he just executes in the top half. It's not like he's really meticulously like, I've got this at bat, with his curly mustache and all. It's like, all right, just upper half with the fastball, but that's so good that like, sure, that's fine. You just do your thing. But I see guys like Cantillo and Jack Leiter and Tanner Bybee, and even just watching Mike Burrows in the last start, and same thing with Brandon Sproat before this previous one, of just you watch them and I just go, you can't execute a pitch and like it and working at bat properly. And if I lose that faith, if I'm like, I don't think that you can really work a game, then I don't want to have you on my team. That is where I put like my 50% in, and less of the park factors or the or just generally like, cool, the stuff is this good or so. Those are major aspects. But if you get that label from me of just I cannot trust what is going on from you, then I'm far more out, I think. than you are, which is understandable
Well,
because
so
command
where are
is
you on
weird.
Elder?
Yeah.
Where are you on Elder?
Elder?
Because Elder,
Oh my gosh. Okay.
where do you have him?
We're gonna talk a little bit about Bryce Elder, everybody. And we're gonna do that after this break. So Bryce Elder, yeah. What I I was actually really encouraged about Bryce Elder a week ago. I saw the start that he had before the one against the Dodgers, and all of a sudden I started to realize, my gosh, I've overlooked this.
He
His
has a
ICR
plan.
rates are much better against lefties. It's the cutter and the slider just are, oh my gosh, it's masking each other. It's going great. I didn't realize this. Against righties, still kind of whatever. But lefties, he's just inducing so much weak contact, and it's by far his best year at it. Sure, the BABIP is still fortunate, but it's not nearly as ridiculous as I initially
K-minus
thought.
BB is good.
And then I watched the Dodgers start. Oh my gosh, I have a video coming out tomorrow. I did it live on the Twitch stream this morning. You just see me being like, what is going on? How
is he getting away with this?
I
I saw it was so funny. It was before the game. You were like, the regression gods are coming, and they did, but they came from the other pitcher. It was Justin
Right.
Robleski on the other side.
I mean, that was funny. Sometimes you put out a tweet and you don't like check on it. You come back and go, oh my gosh, what? 2,000 likes? Like, how did this one hit in this way? But yeah, it was
because they
Elder
were all
versus
like, you
Robleski,
were
and, like,
wrong because he just
everyone's like,
graded
"Ah." And
them.
I mean, Elder threw, I think it was an at-bat to Dalton Rushing, where I think this is the perfect example of just what is going on. Elder has an 83 mile per hour slider that looks like it has a ton of drop, but then you forget that like 83, gravity has more time, so it's going to get more drop. And it's not actually a lot of drop. It's just, slower. And then you have a four-seamer that is just bad. It is a bad four-seamer. There's a little bit of cut action, but it's not. It's like 92. A sinker that sometimes is like 12 inches of horizontal. And then you have a cutter that is 11 to 12 inches of vert at 88. All of this is it. This is what he brings. He did have some change.
Looks exactly like the sinker.
Yeah. But gravity, right? But it's wild. So I'm watching this, and he had some really nice ones. He had a really nice, he ended this Dalton Rushing at bat beautifully, but got to 2-0 because, and then he threw a cutter upstairs and out of the zone at 2-0, and Dalton Rushing swung and missed.
What did you think it was?
Why would you do that? Why? What is the mentality?
It was a slider that was going to come back down into the zone?
I think he knew it was a cutter, and yeah, but it was a 12-inch vert, not a 6. So he swung under it, but it landed above the zone, so strike. So fine, it's 2-1. If you're in a 2-1 count, what are you generally going to expect? What is that expectation as a hitter?
You're looking fastball, and you're going to not swing unless you get fastball.
Elder threw a 92 mile per hour four-seamer right down the pipe, and he just took it.
No.
I was just, what are you doing? You swing at that 2-0 cutter upstairs, and then wow. That the feeling in my heart is just like, how did you know, Elder? How did you know? And then he throws a front hip sinker. That's beautiful. And Rushing.
The front hip sinkers that he's.
And that was like, okay. All right.
And apparently Greg Maddux taught him that. So he's the new Greg Maddux.
Cool. It was like 14 inches of right, but it was cool,
Mm-hmm.
And this is what it's like watching Elder. It's like you see at times where it's like, oh, that's actually okay. I get it. But then it's like, dude, how? So you got to keep rolling with it because it's just going, and it's a Vargas roll in the most, purest sense. But yeah, I haven't.
I mean, I may write about him in the I'm 63. So all that, and we're not that far apart.
Nope.
I had him at like 100, and I didn't believe in it,
right.
and I got emails, and so now I guess I have to eat crow. But I think what I'm going to highlight, I do an intro and I highlight something, and I think I'm going to highlight two things. One, the Hype 7 is just amazingly working out, and that's beautiful. And then there's these other guys that are nothing like those guys that are, the Bryce Elders and Davis Martins, where, there's, they're doing something right and it's working, and you just, all the numbers, all the projections are going to say that, it's not going to keep going, but there's always somebody that you look up at the end of the year and had just a great year, like Seth Lugo getting those Cy Young votes, and you're like,
Right. This is the swatch last year. It's
yeah,
it happens every single season. And what's actually interesting, the Hype 7, I'm trying to remember it exactly. So Schlittler, Burns, Mizorowski, McLean, those are the 4 that have done
Savage.
exceptionally well. Now there's a Savage, Horton, and Iuri are the 3 others, right? Or am I missing one?
Yeah, I think that's it.
So it's 50-50.
Wait, did
And
you
let's
put
be honest.
Mizorowski in there?
Yeah, Mizorowski was in the first group. So it's 50-50, which is honestly great.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And it's 50-50 and you got an ace, right?
Yeah,
It wasn't 50-50.
right.
Like a lot of pitchers are 50-50, but these
Yeah.
ones were 50-50 and you got an ace out of it.
Absolutely. And Erie Perez is a perfect example of guys that just can't command the ball. And I'm just like, I can't do this.
Yeah, and I'm still, I've got Savage and Perez next to each other in the top 40.
Oh God,
and I'm
Savage, I can't.
another, I know. They're terrible to watch, and so sometimes
that's
I'll
not
watch
a good
them.
endorsement.
I know. I'll watch them and I'll be like, what is going on here? Like, what this? It's like the opposite of what you're talking about. It's like, what is the plan, and where did you want that pitch to be? Like that sort of stuff. But I believe in stuff, and like I think these guys can. I think these guys can turn it around.
So a couple of the ones that I really want to talk about with you are around the 40s. You have Spencer Strider at 39. And that's an interesting one for me too, because I would say as a stuffist, you wouldn't be in.
Yes. So the other thing that I'm going to highlight in this is that, around this part of the season, I do look at Sierra and I do look at some of the, I look at, the way my season goes is stuff in the first week, stuff in K minus BB in the sort of second, third, fourth weeks. And then, this far into the season, I will look at Sierra because Sierra has proven to be really predictive. And Sierra captures ground ball rate, and it's skill interactive. So, not only is your ground ball rate good for whatever reason, ground ball rates are good, but if your ground ball rate is high enough, I remember this was one of the findings from it, your BABIP will be lower. So Sierra's looked at all the sort of co-correlations between things, and it's been like, yeah. So like, if you have a 45% ground ball rate, there's no effect on your BABIP. But if you get up to 60% ground ball rate, there's an expected a BABIP effect. That's like,
but
the
I would think that it would be a higher BABIP, not a lower BABIP.
No, it's lower, and I think it. We could probably dial it in if we maybe used xERA to some extent, because I think when you have a 60% ground ball rate, if you looked at their average launch angle, it might be negative. Or
this is what I'm getting at, right? So the what Sierra I think should be, what I would love to see is we have like topped and we have under and everything like that, and I use it for myself. I just made it super simple because it just makes sense to me. I established 2 types of contact, weak and hard. And I made it defined as like burners are hard and flares are weak, and topped, just like specific.
But there's a difference between a flare and a topped. I mean,
well, absolutely.
When we're talking about
I'm getting at like I have each batted ball is just broken out, and it's either in one of the 2, right? And I could have a gray area in there if I wanted to, but if you use that with Sierra and you don't say burner versus topped, versus, topped is like essentially what a dribbler is, I believe. It's then you might actually have that correlation even tighter, right? Of saying this is a skill, this is a good skill to have. While a lot of times you see ground ball rates, it does mean that they're still making hard contact. It's just in the ground, but that actually can be a high BABIP with the singles.
I agree with you, and I think a lot of this is an xERA. What I don't understand is that Sierra has been proven to be more predictive than xERA. So I don't know why that is. Sometimes you introduce more ideas and there's noise in each of them, and it works.
Yeah,
but to Strider, he's got an 18% K minus BB. He's got a 393 Sierra. and he's got a 391 projection.
Mm-hmm.
And he has a 28% projected strikeout rate. I think at this point I could just look past the stuff numbers. I don't know.
That's 2 starts.
Yeah.
Also,
But
by the way, I
mean,
don't touch the ERA next year anyway, so I don't know why I'm even talking about this stuff.
Yeah, but it's not just 2 starts. I mean, because there was even last year he didn't do great, but he got a 24% strikeout rate out of a bad stuff plus them too.
Yeah.
So there's something about
I'll always say about last year that he faced the Rocky Road and had 15 Ks. I'm like, how much did that do?
But what we have seen is like guys like Robbie Ray, and like there's people who throw a lot of sliders, and the sliders themselves may not have great stuff, but they produce a lot of whiffs, So I think Spencer Strider's slider is still going to just produce a lot of whiffs. It may not. A 391 ERA is not great. It's saying like he's going to have some bad days, but I'm just sort of I don't know. The swing strike rate's pretty good.
Yeah. So like Elder, I watched this one with Strider just being like, okay, I need to understand this. Now, I remember against the Colorado start, I saw a drop of 1.5 vert, and I'm like, okay, that's Coors. Wait, hold on a second. Coors is normally about 3 inches of vert drop. So that is like, oh, maybe he did get some of that vert back, because you remember he was more like 18 inches in 2023 or so. And then it fell down to like 14 and 15 last year, and we were like, not really cool.
Yeah, and the Dodgers game hit pretty good vert.
Yeah, he's back at 17. That's cool. The velocity is not there. He had moments of like at 97, but it really feels like he's a 95 and change at the moment. And I think that's going to stick. And I think that's the biggest issue I have is at 95 with that vert and extension, that seems good. And also, is that enough for him to be a 2-pitch guy? Like you look at Dylan Cease and Strider.
Yeah,
and I'll be honest,
is much better on Cease. They're actually very similar. And to this point, Cease is throwing 25% non-fastball sliders. So
there is that aspect of it. I'm also just thinking, command-wise, like they're both pretty similar. I wouldn't say that Strider is an amazing command pitcher. Maybe a little bit better than Cease, but it's still very, very similar. Like I don't see him like many pitches in this game that just like, oh, that went there. Good job. All right, I guess so. And we give him credit for it. I'm like, yeah, but with Cease though, it is a better stuff 4-seamer. It is a better stuff slider, and we know the volatility there.
Well, I didn't put him as high as Cease, so
version of that.
I'm agreeing with you on that, but so you have him lower. I had Strider lower.
Like I would rather have Robbie Ray. I feel like I know what I'm going to get more from Robbie Ray. I love Connor Prielipp, and I love that you enjoy Connor Prielipp too. And I actually want to talk to you about Connor Prielipp exactly after this break. Because Connor Prielipp, has been dealt such a weird hand. Did you know that he has not pitched a single game of 60-degree weather yet?
Oh,
he has pitched in the rain multiple times, and guess what? Thursday night, he's going to have to pitch in light rain at 62 degrees. Nice. And it's just, why? Why can't he just be like comfortable? Like, I'm starting in the big leagues. This is wonderful. He has to like battle each time, but he has an amazing slider, a 95, 96 mile per hour 4-seamer. That isn't a good stuff one, but at least he keeps it upstairs. And I change up and think that will be better. I personally see the ideal version of Reed Detmers in Connor Prielipp. That's my comp.
Nice. Yeah, Detmers and Kikuchi were my early comps on him, and I think he's moved past them. He looks better than them. I mean, the Detmers never had a really good change. Detmers is a lot more 4-seam slider. Kikuchi had maybe a good 4-pitch mix like Prielipp at some point, but Prielipp's command looks a lot better.
You never know with Kikuchi. He would every day be like, all right, I've got a slide. Oh, it's going to be a cutter today. Let's a little more change up today.
Every time he moved to a new team too, it's like, we're featuring the curve now.
Oh my gosh. With Detmers, by the way, he does have his former changeup back, which is a positive for him. It's not amazing, but at least it's better than the kind of splitty version that he was going for a moment. But yeah, Connor Prielipp to me is great.
I'm really excited about Logan Henderson's sweeper.
Yes.
because,
Yes. He
you
needed
know,
something like that.
yeah. I mean, we can do right on right changes. Another thing from Lance Brzezowski's newsletter that was interesting recently was he pointed out that the Rays are now first in right on right changeups after being 29th last year, I think.
Is it because Nick
Um,
Martinez is there?
well, partially because of who they have, yes,
Yeah.
but they said something about their models. Lance said he reached out to somebody and said their models, and I have realized, because I've been staring at these platoon splits for Stuff Plus, that there are multiple changeups that have reverse platoon splits. Now
Oh.
that I say that, you know, do I believe it's like, do I believe it? It's theoretical,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah,
It's
sure.
in the model, but that now that I say that, I want to see if Logan Henderson's has a reverse
Oh, it
platoon
has to
split.
be.
Let's see here. So against same-handed, his changeup has a Stuff Plus of 100, and against opposite it's 105, which is why it's great to have a sweeper. Now he has
Yeah.
a sweeper that he can use. I think the changeup at 99 or 100 with the command that he has of it is obviously one he can use against same-handed guys. So
Oh, completely, and he
um,
still does.
yeah, he
And that's
does.
Stuff
Yeah.
Plus, by the
So
way, not at Velocity. That's 99 Stuff Plus.
yes. Yeah. So
There's a
now
cutter
he
there
has.
too, right? That he also
Yeah.
keeps in and then works against lefties. And Logan Henderson, it's
But Logan
interesting because we had
Henderson.
all these young guys, and then Logan Henderson appears again, and it's like, wait, stop. You want Logan Henderson? This is a foundation of a four seamer, really good changeup, and now he has a sweeper that is the kind of the missing piece on a Brewers squad that is really good, honestly, for pitching development that we've seen.
Defensively too, yeah, and
So,
like,
yeah.
I talked to Bubba Chandler this week and Braxton Ashcraft.
Mhm.
That was fun. I continue to get the shove off from Skeens, but that's all right.
I think he does it to everyone though. Like you don't.
Yeah, it's hard to get him, I think, but
Yeah.
the Braxton is a complete nerd, and I
Nice.
say that with the most affection. It was
Yeah.
a pleasure talking to him. We talked about approach angles and why the sinker was so important for him, and how he can manipulate the curveball. And Bubba is funny because he's a little bit more grip it and rip it.
Yeah.
Just a dude, just a dude. But I did say, my theory is you're a pronator. He's like, oh yeah, I'm a pronator. And I was like, and that's why, it's been more difficult for you to get the breaking balls in order, right? And he's like, yeah, they're just as good as how hard they are. And I'm like, sure.
Oh,
I
stop max
stole
efforting,
the
please.
words.
Yeah.
Stole the words right out of my mouth. But in a way, Henderson reminds me of Bubba too,
Mm,
except that I don't know if it's a choice or if he just lives at a different velo, but Logan has more command and has less velo.
absolutely.
So, I mean, there is still a world where Bubba figures that out and is better than Logan Henderson. I mean, there
Oh
were a lot
yeah,
of
completely.
prospectors who would have said that, and
Yeah.
there are people who probably might still believe that. But I would still maybe acquire Bubba in keeper leagues. But for this year, I have Logan Henderson like 21 spots ahead of Bubba, and he's the new sort of pronator that has the apple of my eye.
Yeah. That makes sense to me a ton. I have Bubba down as well, like you do, because it's just as much as I want to say, yeah, this is going to work out, you really can't at a certain point. I mean, Kyle Bradish was one of those, but fortunately today, again, against the Yankees, like 2 straight starts now, he did 10 strikeouts against the Athletics. And right before we recorded this, Kyle Bradish came out of the game with 7 strikeouts and 0 earned runs, 1 hit, 3 walks against the Yankees, which is great to see.
I had a real
Super exciting
difficulty
about
with
that.
Bradish, King, and Sonny Gray.
Yeah.
Um, I ended up putting them all together right around Spencer Strider in another one of those tiers where I'm like, I don't know how much further down I can push them.
Hmm.
The models don't love them. Sierra, for all of them, is like a 4+. None of them has a good K minus BB. None of them has a standout stuff number. They all have lower command numbers than they usually do.
Hmm.
And it's just, I have them basically in the top 45, almost on track record and name value. You know what I mean? Like, and projections, honestly. But they could have dropped more, and I could see other rankers dropping them more.
Sure. Oh man, is that what we're called now? We're called rankers. Uh, hey, let's go to the rankers convention. I have two things. I suggest just go to the website. Because what's so interesting about this is I get to grill you a bit and be like, kind of do a whole thing. I'm like, oh man, you're ridiculous, whatever. But you don't get to do it to me enough. So I want you to go to the most recent edition of the list and grill me on someone. And it can't be the guy I'm about to mention because you have him at 98. And I had no choice but to say, no, I have to put him like 50 or something because I can't in my gut just say like, no, I don't want this guy. I want someone else.
Davis Martin.
Yeah, right. I had no choice. It's going so well. And actually, I am surprised a little bit that you're as low as you are because you called this the year of the Arsenal.
Yeah.
And Davis Martin is doing that without like bad stuff. It's not amazing, but it is like, it is decent, right? And when you have a lot of those, it kind of changes things.
Well, I put this up on Rates and Barrels, but if you look at his stuff percentile, Davis Martin, it's 12th percentile among starting pitchers.
Okay, so
if you look at, but I did look at the BP Arsenal stats, and if you look at, how likely you are to get one specific pitch, like pitch type surprise factor or whatever.
Random.
He's in the 80th percentile when it comes to like spread of like how movement spread. He's in the 80th and 90th percentile. When it comes to velocity spread, though, he's in the 50th percentile. And I do think that is going to be where he becomes more vulnerable in the future because if you have a tighter velocity band, then it becomes easier to swing. Right. And if you're around the zone and they start swinging at your stuff and you don't have great stuff, I think that's how the regression will come.
So I don't know where I stand on what I'm about to say. Okay. I have a lot of thoughts about like velocity changes and bands. So on one hand, these are just the different thoughts I have. One is that you have a really slow curveball. Guys don't swing. Right, because we have like big hump and everything, and that
bigger velocity spreads lead to fewer swings.
Right, more and more takes, right?
Yeah,
and then you have the other extreme of it, of like Cam Schlittler, where guys are just trying as hard as they can, and they can't figure out because it's such a tight band, and they don't know what to do with it, right? And then I also think about what I call the second swing, which is where a batter who's geared up for a fastball adjusts to the slower velocity. And you can see it in their body of how they start and stop. And some guys do it so aggressively that they can't shift any weight back. And other guys benefit with a larger velocity gap because it gives them the time to shift it back and then restart it, right? So I constantly think about that when it comes to changeups of too slow is too bad at times. And there being an ideal range for what you do to change that velocity where you're still going to have the first swing, but you're going to be too early and you don't have time to make that second swing or that adjustment, right? And so I don't know if I want a guy like Davis Martin, who has a wide arsenal, to have the largest band of velocity, because then you can kind of pinpoint it more and you can kind of make decisions. The tighter it is, not like all the way to Cam Schlittler, like 3-4 miles per hour, but if it's like a 10 to 15 or so, then it really makes it more difficult to identify this one or that one, and to what kind of second swing am I going to have, or is that the right timing for it?
That makes sense. Like we've been talking about Wu and Brown and Schlittler, like they don't have great big velocity gaps. They almost want you swinging.
Yeah,
because
then it's like, all right, well, you're swinging wrong.
Oops,
you only get one chance, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So
I am going to move him up. I'm moving Davis Martin up, but I'm not going to move him up
5 spots.
No, I'm gonna. I think I don't know whether to put him ahead or below the Griffin Jacks Ben Brown tier break.
Oh, that's another conversation.
But I'm putting him around there. I'm gonna move him up to about 70, 75, somewhere in there.
Okay, so speaking of that area, Griffin Jackson, Ben Brown. I'm much more into Griffin Jackson and Ben Brown. I think Ben Brown still has the same Wasker failure, which is a good breaking ball and not a good enough fastball. And I know he has a sinker now, but that's not enough.
I know that's my hope, is that there's a little bit of a Braxton Ashcraftian situation here with the sinker.
But Ashcraft has a slider and a curve.
Right.
And the four-seamer, I think, is actually better in Ashcraft than it is with Ben Brown.
Yeah. I think, and it's just not a wide mix. So Griffin Jax has a higher floor. Ben Brown might have a higher ceiling.
Much more exciting four-seamer, but I don't know what the velocity is going to look like when Griffin Jax is at 70 pitches.
He's holding steady at 96, but yeah, I don't know. That's like 55. I mean, there's a lot of unknown there. So that just provides me like a tier. Like it's like a, everybody behind that tier is like free for all. Like, what are you going to do?
This is the argument I'm going to give you here is what you're chasing with Ben Brown or Griffin Jax. Isn't that what Max Meyer's doing?
Yeah, I think he'll be ahead of it.
What I'm saying is, like, Max Meyer is already pitching at a level that is what you're hoping for they will be.
Yeah. Meyer. Junk is like a backup case for Jax, where like it's all decent, but it doesn't give you the Ks you want.
Yeah, he's not commanding his whole arsenal effectively. It bothers me immensely because it's such a good stuff four-seamer, and then you go 0 whiffs on a four-seamer.
Look in the last start, because he was making
on the four-seam.
On the four-seam, but did he throw it higher?
It was Meyer has a 18-inch four-seamer now. Yeah, Junk had 0 whiffs on the four-seamer. Yeah,
but did he throw it higher in the zone than usual in the last start?
He did for 2 starts and then didn't last game.
Oh, okay. So he was sort of talking about that with me. Junk.
I mean, it was good that I saw it for 2 games and then it started going lower again. And I was like, well, all right.
I mean, he has such good command that like he has a gravity towards the middle of the zone, right? That's his command, right?
Oh man, don't do that. Come on, just get cute, as my coach used to say. Get cute around the zone. Do the neck beard. Well, don't do that, there's also Foster Griffin, who I think everybody listening is not going to drop Foster Griffin for a lot of these guys that you have 10 spots above at this point. And I don't blame them, but also we know that Foster Griffin isn't going to do this forever. It can't.
Yeah, I mean, this is where like my tools come into play. So Davis Martin has a 3.09 Sierra and a 22 K- BB. So like, even though I don't believe in the stuff necessarily, the arsenal's good, and those are predictive numbers. K- BB and Sierra are predictive numbers. Where with Griffin, like to some extent, I actually like some of his arsenal and kind of like how they play off each other. But he has a 5 Sierra and a 6 K- BB. So like, I'm gonna have Davis Martin ahead of Foster Griffin, and I might have both a little bit lower than people want me to have them, just because I don't really trust either.
Yeah, I just did a solid, by the way. I took 2 columns ahead, two places in the decimals, and made it 1 because I don't know what you're doing. 25.20%. What are you doing? You don't even just make it 22%. Just even do that. But fine, we'll just go to 22.1.
All right, let's talk Griffin Canning for a second.
Okay, cool. That was
we actually have him.
There's a guy above that too that I want to talk
about.
We
have 10 apart. We're not far apart, but
yeah.
I just don't know what to do with Canning right now, because it is vintage Canning in that it's not great fastballs and a pretty good slider changeup combo, but the slider and changeup combo are basically average now, according to Stuff Plus.
Interesting.
He got good whiffs, but he didn't command things. If he's not going to command things, man, like, are we going to be in on this at all?
Okay, so Griffin Canning for 2 starts now, okay? First one surprised me because he's only had 17 inches of vert, gained an extra inch of both ride and and rise, both directions, and then also his changeup added 3 inches of drop and 2 inches of fade, right? So I'm like, dude, what? You also located to left-handers the Blake Snell blueprint, 4-seamers up and changeups down. This was against the White Sox in his first one, 7 Ks, 16 whiffs, right? He had 11 whiffs combined on the changeup and 4-seamer, an extra 5 on the slider, which was mostly, I believe, against the right-handers. Against the right-handers. Was this the MLB? Against right-handers. And then They had 2 of them there. But then you had the game against the Cardinals, and on paper, it's like, oh my gosh, 4-point winning, 6 earned runs. Oh my, he got lit up. Well, he got lit up in a 5th, but he was shut out for 4 innings with 2 base runners, 2 singles, 4 strikeouts in his first 6 batters. And then the 5th inning was single, strikeout, walk, single, error in the outfield, single, double, walk out of the game. Right. And it's just, okay. And that's where we're at the moment. I still like his changeup command to lefties. I love that he is still Blake's on blueprint, 4-seamer change. The 4-seamer is a little bit worse.
The fastballs are a little bit better, right? The sinker's better. Like
but
you
his
mentioned,
fastballs are improved from last year. Yeah, he's gained more movement on both. And both starts with it. The changeup had the same gains as well in movement and in velocity. He's throwing a sinker now that he can't command to right-handers, but at least he's throwing it. And the slider, yeah, that is the element that I think it needs a little bit of work to right-handers, at least commanding it. But he did throw some of these. Like he threw an 87-mile-per-hour one to Jordan Walker that had 12 inches of sweep and 3 inches of depth at 87.
Yeah,
like that's not
like
terrible at all. Like the
baby
sweeper,
hard baby sweeper. Yeah,
and that's pretty cool. So I'm a fan of this. I hate that he has to go against the Dodgers after the Brewers, and we're not like the most confident in Griffin Canning right now. That I'm not saying we got to go out and get him and hold past that, right? That's how it works a lot when it comes down to the 70s. Is I'm going after the guys that I want to grab, not just for this one, but also potentially after first before I just focus on this week, right? And I can't quite endorse it at this point. I have a very close eye on Griffin Canning, though. I think that this is the most excited I've been about Griffin Canning since like 2019 or something. So I'm very, very curious about it. Also, I like the Padres. I think that they do a really good job with their guys. And
the difference
amazing. They've got good staff.
My mildly interested in Griffin Canning and you're excited about him is 10 spots. I love that. We argue about
well, it's just about like that's the strategy is the point.
Yeah.
However,
I have who were you gonna say?
Oh, Robbie Snelling.
Yeah.
You have a 75. And I want to hear more about that after the debut when we have this thing called the pilot rule. You might know it, the prospect's initial line, often terrible. So you can't start them in an MLB debut. You can just get a sense of them and then hope that, they're different after that. Where are you on what he can do tomorrow or what the future is with Robbie Snelling?
I think that he has a platoon resistant arsenal. I think that the fastball and curve as a foundation are weapons against both right-handers and left-handers. And that's his, I think he does have an identity. Unfortunately, I'm not sure if that identity includes command. So I'm just going to have to take a wait and see. I'm a little bit more, I might give a guy a longer track record before I say they don't have command than you might. But he did have a slightly high walk rate in AAA with the ABS system down there. And that was what he struggled with in his debut. So if he doesn't have that command, then I think that's going to be pretty tough sledding for him. But I do think he'll at least be a start at home guy.
Did you watch that game? Did you get a chance? I know it's over Friday. It's kind of gets a little bit difficult.
Just some like highlights at the end. Not
okay. I got to tell you this. His first pitch of the game was a curveball to James Wood. Okay, right? James Woods. And then he threw a second one. And then he struck him out on the third one. His first 3 pitches in the majors were curveballs.
Nice.
Isn't that the coolest thing ever?
That's better than it's funny though, because J.R. Ritchie debuted against James Wood too. And the first pitch he threw with him, right? I think it was a fastball and the Woods deposited.
Oh, yeah, that's right. He deposited. That's right. Oh, I totally forgot that. Right. But right, so Robbie Snelling, to me, from what I saw, was he had 2 strikeouts in his first 3 batters. And then he had 4 walks and 0 Ks after that.
I don't know how deep it is, like I have faith in the curve and the fastball.
The changeup is so good, You got to watch a highlight reel of his changeups. It is a 90-91 mile per hour changeup that it's 3 inches of vert at most of the time. I think we haven't misclassified some of these sinkers as changeups, but well, actually, no, maybe not. Maybe just floated. But compared to the 4-seamer that's at 18 and 19 inches of vert, and it's also like 4 miles per hour, 5 miles per hour different. That is just, you're not adjusting to that completely. And he had a 21% swing strike rate on this pitch in the debut. I think that's
But,
like 3 or
if you're
4.
not commanding that, then you're spitting on that. You're spitting on the curveball if you can
He
spot it at
commanded
all.
it. He had a 64% strike rate. I
Huh.
mean, I saw this, like he was
Where'd all
looking
the
at
walks
down
come
2
from?
right-handers. Sorry?
Where do the walks come from? Fastball command?
Yeah, 57% four-seamer. But I will say, I mean, one of my favorite things to do is to look at walks and then look at strike rate and to see if they're kind of linked. Like, okay, if you have 1 walk, you should have like a 65 to 70% strike rate. If you have like 5 walks, you should have like a 55% strike rate. 63% strikes. And to me, that is saying, okay, it's an MLB debut. Yeah, you're gonna be more prone to the status of an at-bat. You're going to be more jittery. You're going to be more emotional. You're going to be overthinking a lot more instead of just what
So
you're
it's just
capable of as a skill
you put
set.
the walks in the wrong places. Or you put the balls in the wrong, when you
Yeah,
got a
right. He
ball, it was
mistimed
the
his
wrong
balls,
time.
right? Yeah, he
Yeah,
couldn't. He
yeah.
lost guys in here and there. He also threw
Yeah.
some really bad curveballs to right-handers, like the double right after. I think he actually threw 4 straight doubles, maybe. Just so I think he didn't. He threw a fastball to start him off, but it was a 1-1 curveball well over the middle of the plate. I'm like, yeah, no, you can't do that. There is also a slider in here at 85, and that's the most interesting part to me because this slider is so bad compared to the curveball. Like, you have a
And
curveball that
why
you
does he
throw at
even have it
83,
around?
84, and a slider at
Because he
84, 85.
just has it for lefties?
And the movement, no, use the slider, the curveball, which is like, it's just like a 2-plane, like -8 and 11,
Yeah,
right?
but he might become like a 2-pitch pitcher against lefties if he doesn't use the slider.
Right. It's just a worse curveball, is my point.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I talked to Bubba about that a little bit.
Yeah. How
Yeah,
so?
because I was like, your slider and your curve, they kind of like look the same on the charts. And he goes, I know. He's like, but I think the curve's a good pitch. So I think he thinks the curve is a better pitch than the slider, and he might start using the curve more against righties.
Interesting. What I'm hearing is, yes, they're the same pitch, but I like this one more.
Yeah,
That's what I
well,
translated that as. And I was like, what's going on? What am I missing?
he also said, I think the slider is for lefties, and the curveball is for righties, which I was like, oh, that's fun because that's different than other people. But
Right.
he does throw
usually the reverse. Yeah.
he throws a tight gyro slider. That's the other thing that I've noticed in the platoon splits is there are gyro sliders with reverse platoon splits too.
Huh.
So there are gyro sliders that are better against lefties than righties.
Well, I would say those are the guys like Jacob deGrom who can throw that back foot consistently, because that's where that lives, and that is just so effective. A gyro slider there is just boom.
I mean, it
Right
suggests
underneath
that
the empty nitro zone.
there's some movement profile. I would also maybe suggest that those gyro sliders are closer to cutters in terms of movement profile.
But it's at 84.7 in this.
That you're talking about Snelling.
Yeah, Snelling, but like it's a gyro. It's a straight up gyro.
Oh, that's not good. You
Yeah,
don't want
right.
an gyro. You want an 88, 89 mile an hour gyro.
Yeah.
At least.
But anyway, so I will say I am shocked that Robbie Snelling did something that NC Luzardo or Weathers do, which is actually throw an inside sinker to lefties. Like, for whatever reason, the Marlins were like, nah, we're not doing that. Even though you guys have fantastic horizontal movement. No way. Why would we ever do that? Then they go off to their respective places, and what do you know? But
I would say that
Snelling is doing that to
organization,
lefties. Always a great sign to see that from southpaw as well. And I mean, I watched this. I'm just like, dude, this guy's better than Max Meyer. This guy is. There's been a lot of hype with Snelling, especially after the second half of last year, where he certainly improved his stuff. And you throw away every debut. Paul Skeens was 4 innings of bad baseball against the Cubs or whatever it was. Like, just please, the pilot rule exists for a reason. And I know for every Tolley, there's a Skeens. Okay. So
and I think that just a real quick thing about the Marlins, I think that they're learning. I think that
I agree with you on that.
organization is changing in front of our eyes. So I don't even know if they'll continue. Like I talked to some people within the organization, and they were like, "Yeah, we're trying things. Like we're not even sure that we're going to continue to call games from the dugout or anything. Like we just." We had those catchers, Augustin Ramirez and Liam Hicks, who are not like their previous organizations weren't sure they were catchers, right? So
Yeah,
we have those catchers. We thought maybe this would make their lives a little bit easier if we did the calling for them,
sure.
and we tried it out. So they're like, maybe a different catcher we won't do that with in the future. So I think that they're trying a lot of different things out, and I wouldn't be surprised if even stuff that they weren't doing with Luzardo that they will do with Snelling.
Now, I'm gonna let you ask one more from my list that's just like, this makes no sense. However, I am gonna say to you, and I think because once this week is over, because of he's going into Sacramento, that is Sacramento this week, then I'm in on him, is Trevor McDonald. And I love that he throws a true sinker, like sub 2 vert on the sinker, and then a slider that's a curveball that, like, it's an 87 mile per hour breaker that is nothing actually that we've seen of like a gyro. It's not far enough to be a sweeper. It's not down enough to be a curve. It's just good. And then there's also a changeup game involved in there too. I actually think this is pretty cool for Trevor McDonald, who I call Buck. Do you know why I call him Buck? Can you make a guess?
Something
So
about
Buck,
two pitches, or
there's a pitcher named Buck. Buck what?
I don't know.
Buck Farmer.
Oh yeah, Buck Farmer. Oh my God. Yeah, I remember Buck Farmer.
And then of course it's Trevor McDonald.
Oh God. So bad. I was like, oh, who's a 2-pitch sinker slider guy? Like,
was he really Buck Farmer?
No, that's what I was trying to think of, 2-pitch sinker slider guy.
No, so Buck here, I think is someone you're going to be raising in the next edition of your ranks, because it's going to be in Oracle Park. You have Webb out for a little bit, and then when he returns, I'm expecting McDonald to do well. So then you have McDonald or you have Adrian Hauser, and it might be Buck staying around.
Yeah, I think he could chill and stay on the team, but I'm just worried he's going to get exposed with repeated looks with 2 pitches. It's a sinker. He's got to throw those against lefties, and you got to have great command to front hip all those and get away with it. And even Lana Rupp did a lot better once he added the cutter.
Right. So there's 2 things. There's 2 paths here. Here's the fun part. Okay. I know it sounds crazy. I'm actually not inherently down against being only like sinker focused against lefties. It's actually, I'm only against being 2-seamer focused against lefties. Because if you have a sinker, then you can just live down and away. You can do that. You can get underneath it. You can play with going too far underneath the zone. You can do the neck beard, essentially, that Keuchel and Valdez have done for years against right-handers, right? Like, it's
Kyle,
because
my instinct is the opposite, is that the 2-seamers can live high and away.
Right. And you don't want that. So you just got to have the command to stay down. And if you can do that, or you can go the front up and in, coming back over, that Rupe has done, and that's been fun. Cool. But I'm not totally out on the idea of a sinker baller doing well against upstanding batters. I mean, I think Clay Holmes is actually showcasing right now that you can do it against left-handers, as he's just been leaning heavily into that.
All right, let's finish with this one.
Yes.
I have him 10 higher than you, so it's not like I love him and you hate him, but Mitch Keller added a cutter. You must love him. Now he has 8 pitch types. Come on.
You're going to end this on Mitch Keller? Are you serious? That's the only one you want to talk about on this? Me talking about Mitch Keller?
I feel like we've talked about everybody, dude.
Everybody? What about Emerson Hancock losing all of his vert all of a sudden?
Did he?
Yes.
What? I didn't even notice.
It's under 10 vert in his 4-seamer his last start.
Ooh, so that's how Luis Castillo keeps his job. See.
Well, I mean, you want to know what's crazier though, is that Emerson Hancock had
Trey Savage at 75. Come on, dude.
There we go. Thank you so much. Mitch Keller, by the way, had the easiest schedule recently. So fine, great, awesome. He's always had a cutter, by the way. Mitch Keller didn't just add a cutter. He's had cutters for ages.
But he's throwing more this year.
I mean, okay, throw more of anything, I'm gonna be all right. But what is better? Up with
I don't
Mitch
know.
Keller. I don't
Trey
know.
Savage
You
has
can
the
talk to
same
them.
velo as last year, the same
Is
stuff as
Savage
last year. He
doesn't
still
know
has
where
the
things are
same
going.
command issues, but
He does
it
not know.
hasn't really hurt
Well,
him.
I disagree with that part. I think Savage commanded much better last year. I will say the most recent outing is far more encouraging. I had my list before his most recent one, I believe, on was it Monday? No, I take that back. He had his slider working finally for the first time, his most recent one. I am not encouraged at all about Savage being like a stable arm. Like what happened last year was like we were going through this whole thing of okay, this doesn't quite make sense. He has such a steep arm angle and he doesn't get whiffs on it and it gets hit really hard. But because he has the steepest splitter in baseball, then okay, I'm willing to believe that. And he has a good enough slider for right-handers. What I've seen is maybe one game of actually having a slider against right-handers, splitters that are not consistent, more at 11, and then a four-seamer that is around. And that to me is very hipsterish. It's not like, oh, this is totally it. I'm just waiting for one game for Savage to be like, yeah, okay, I'm back. I'm like, okay, cool. Come on up. Because he didn't do well
I
at
mean,
all in
it
rehab
is
either. It's not like,
it is
sample size is so small.
volatile. It
Yeah.
is volatile, but so far he's had either good location of the fastball or the slider in each start.
Well, strikes.
Yeah.
Strikes are not good location necessarily to me.
I'm just using location plus as a proxy.
Yeah, right. But yeah, I can't put him at 33. I'd rather have Parker Messick. Oh my gosh. Parker Messick is just so good. He knows where things are going, and he has a cutter. Ha! He's got a new cutter to raise.
Yeah, but he has a league average arm angle and a lot more league average stuff.
He knows where it's going. He's a swatch. He's got a cutter inside. He's going to be a reliable arm the entire year.
Yeah, this is where we part ways.
It's been a good run. It has been.
No, I just mean these are our two catnips.
Yeah, right. These are the.
You were always gonna love Parker Messick, and I was always gonna love Trey Savage.
Well, all right. We'll put it on the board. Thank you so much for taking the time today to talk to me about this. You guys should check out his rankings on The Athletic, of course. You can check out mine every single Monday on Pitcher List. It's why we called Pitcher List since 2015. But thanks so much for being here. My name is Nick Pollock, and we'll talk about the craft of pitching again next week.